Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. We're here to read our next chapter in our Magic Treehouse book number 20, Dingoes at Dinner Time. Chapter 6 is called Hand to Hand. Jack and Annie climbed onto the rock ledge and stepped into the cave. The air inside was cleaner and cooler than the air outside. "I can't see anything," said Jack. He patted the head of the baby kangaroo. "Me neither," said Annie. "Arf, arf." "I guess we'll have to follow Teddy's bark," said Annie. "Let's hold hands." She held out her free hand to Jack, and Jack took it. Then he put his other hand out and touched the wall. The Joey moved in his backpack. Jack and Annie walked into the darkness. "Arf!" Teddy kept barking, leading them on. "Arf, arf, arf!" Suddenly, Jack felt something thump against his leg. He stopped and gasped. "What is it?" said Annie. "Arf!" It was Teddy. His tail was wagging and hitting Jack's leg. "What is it, boy?" Jack asked him. Suddenly, Teddy let out a howl. As he howled, an amazing thing happened. A white line began to glow in the air. The glowing line grew until it looked like a giant snake. The glowing handprints appeared below the snake. Jack felt Annie squeeze his hand. "I think it's painted on the wall," he said. "But what is it?" whispered Jack. "I don't know," said Annie. She let go of Jack and put her hands inside one of the painted handprints. Jack did the same. Despite the glowing painting, the rock felt smooth and cool. It almost seemed to breathe. A ghost-like whistling sound came through the darkness, and then a loud boom. What was that? Jack quickly took his hand off the wall. The boom came again. "It sounded like thunder," said Annie. "Arf, arf." "Teddy's leaving," said Annie. She grabbed Jack's hand. They turned back the way they had come and followed Teddy's barking again. "Arf, arf." They followed the little dog until they saw a flash of light. "Lightning," said Annie. "Lightning and thunder. We're at the front of the cave. Yay!" Jack pulled Annie toward the mouth of the cave and out into the pouring rain. Chapter 7 is called Rain, Rain, Rain. Rain fell on Jack's head and on Joey's head. Rain fell on Annie's head and on Teddy's head and the koalas. Annie opened her mouth and drank the rainwater. Jack did the same. The water tasted better than any water he had ever drunk. When Jack looked at the woods, the misty stream was rising from the charred ground and burning bushes. The heavy rain was putting out the wildfires. "You'll be safe now," Annie said to the koala. "I'll put you back in a nice gum tree, and then you can finish your nap." "I see a tree that's not burned," said Jack. They walked over to the unburned gum tree. Annie placed the koala in the fork of 2 branches. "Go back to sleep now," she said softly. "Pretend the fire was just a bad dream." The koala seemed to smile at them. Then he closed his eyes and went to sleep as if he had never been disturbed at all. Jack sighed and looked around. "Man," he said, "we're lucky a storm came." Annie smiled. "It wasn't just luck," she said. "It was magic." "Magic?" said Jack. "Yeah, the glowing hands and the snake," said Annie. "Somehow they brought the storm." "That doesn't make sense," said Jack. Joey stirred in his backpack. Suddenly, Jack remembered something. "Hey, we have to get Joey back to the place where his mom left him," he said, "or she won't be able to find him." "Where was that place again?" said Annie. "I don't know," said Jack. He looked around the rainy gray forest. Everything looked the same. "I bet Teddy can find the spot," said Annie. Without even a bark, the little dog took off across the wet, muddy ground. Once again, Jack and Annie followed him. Jack's back was beginning to hurt from carrying Joey. "Arf, arf." Jack and Annie caught up with Teddy. He stood over the Australian book. It was wet, but not burned. "Hooray, we found it," said Annie. "That's right," said Jack. "I left our book in the spot where we found Joey." "Once again, Teddy helped us out," said Annie. She patted the little dog's head. He picked up the Australia book. The cover was wet, but the pages looked dry. The little kangaroo was peeking out of his backpack as Jack tucked the book under his arm. "Don't worry, Joey," Annie said. "We'll stay right here until your mom comes back for you." If she hasn't already come, Jack thought worriedly. Jack and Annie stood in the rain with Teddy and Joey and waited. They waited and waited. The rain turned to a drizzle, then the drizzle to a light sprinkle. Still they waited. Jack grew sadder and sadder. Maybe the mother kangaroo had come and left, or maybe she had been caught by the dingoes, or maybe she had been killed by the wildfire. Jack was afraid to look at Annie, afraid to say anything. "I know what you're thinking," she said finally. Jack patted Joey's head and sighed. "Let's wait a little longer. If she doesn't come back soon, we'll take him home with—" "Arf," Teddy barked softly. "Listen," said Annie. Jack listened. The sound was very faint at first, but then it grew louder. It was a squishy sound. It was a squashy sound. It was the sound of big feet slapping through the mud. And we'll start again soon with Chapter 8, The Rainbow Serpent.